Morning, everyone. Welcome to the Good Morning Education with me. We're streaming from Lagos, Nigeria to West Africa to Africa to the entire world. Such a pleasure to be here once again. And we are here to have a great time. I'm sure that you are also excited to be here. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome our guest analyst. Let's welcome Folu Falodun and Dr. Omotola the Great. Good morning, guys. How are you today?
Good morning.
Very
well.
Good morning.
Dr. Omotola, welcome back from the vacation.
Yes, more like it. Thank you. Let's just call it vacation. Yes, thank you. Happy to be back. Thank you.
Fantastic. All right, Sophie, you decided to keep me today.
No, I'm here.
The voice is sounding like you're there, not here.
You're there, I'm here, and we're here together. We're going to have a great show this morning.
All right, so without wasting much time, we're going straight to the headlines and then we will be back to share the conversation of the day. So let's start with our first headline, and that is NUC approved, that's National University Commission, approved 6 academic programs in Alex Ekweme University.
Yesterday, we saw that was it 22 22 programs were accredited at another university in Calabar, I believe. So now we're beginning to see the results of the NUC accreditation visit to universities last year. And if it has taken them this long to come back with their results of their visits, and now we're seeing the accreditation drive going around, then it's a good thing. I believe the more frontiers we open on the education horizon, the better it is for us, the better it is for the students, the better it is even for lecturers. Just expand their minds and get them working, get them thinking, get them preparing, and get them having the future of our societies ready for what's ahead. So Alex Ekweme University has scaled through with 6 programs. Congratulations to them.
Dr. Mokola, any comments?
No, I echo what Faithfully or they said. So I think it's a good thing, and I hope that they are able to maintain it and really do the students proud with the program and the delivery.
Okay. So let's move over to the next headline, and that is on UI to resume online teaching. So let me start with Dr. Motola this time around.
Would say that again. You said who to resume
University of Ibadan to resume online teaching.
Oh, well, I'll say long time in the making, that I'm glad that they're finally getting with the times and they're actually going to make that a reality now instead of later. I think there's a lot of value in it, and I think this can help, especially with enrollment of students, because I know every time in some disciplines and program, not everybody can have the opportunity to get in because of the quota. So I'm hoping that the way that it works is that just because they're doing online does not, it wouldn't limit the or constrain the number of students they can still take, but this will expand opportunities for educators, more educators to be hired, and also provide opportunities for more students to be enrolled in these disciplines as well. Yeah, and I also hope that they will hopefully use the right methodologies to be ensure that the quality of education online is also adequate, not just like wish-washy just because it's online. So I think it's a great step forward.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. Payne, please comment on that.
UI had to shut down because of COVID. They had to shut down a few weeks ago, shut down to visitors, and then ask students to stay away. And instead of complaining and things grinding to a halt, I think this is being proactive. And UI shouldn't even have issues with their online teaching. They do distance learning programs, and it's so far in the number of years they've been doing the distance learning program, it's been successful. So it shouldn't be a problem for them. And I'm hoping to see the time when schools will not be forced to go online or be forced to consider a different perspective to their operations, but they would see it as moving with the times, moving with the realities of what is on ground, plug into it and expand their frontiers. Thank you.
Yeah, because there's a question, and as I ask this question, let me use the opportunity to welcome KK in the building. KK, good morning. Thank you for joining.
Thank you. Good morning.
Well, I'm being told that it's not UI, it's actually, maybe the NILAG has been turned into I. But then, of course, the question is, do we have this benchmarking for universities in such a way where I'm not talking about ranking who is the best and all, but I think that pandemic or no pandemic, it's actually a leverage that should happen, where online teaching it shouldn't be, how do you put it now? Should it be supplementary or complementary? Probably that's the question we should be looking at, because it shouldn't be until there's a scare before we know that we need to dust up that option and then begin to leverage on it. I think we should be looking at making life easier. What do you guys think? Let me
I
ask you.
oh,
Well, yeah, I do believe it should be something that is done so complementary, so that people are ready for it. It's not on the day of battle that we begin to train. So it'll be a good idea for them to make it complementary, but then they have to have a program of action for training the lecturers. I don't know. When I think about my dad, I'm not sure how computer literate my dad was, and some of them are still my dad's age, and my dad passed 17 years ago, and they're still lecturing, some of them till now. So how, prepared are they to move into the 21st, 22nd, to move into today? Let's even leave 27th century, So yeah, let's, but yeah, I agree 100% with you, Rotimi. It should be complementary. Good morning, everybody, once again.
All right, Dr. Motola, you wanted to say something?
yes, absolutely. So for me, I think it should be leveraged and it should not even be seen as complementary. I think it can start on its own. So I'll give an example. So while I was doing my PhD, after my first year, we had to take what they call specialization, or all of those minor courses that you have to take, courses outside of your own current major or your current focus, to just learn and explore other part. And then I discovered that there was actually an opportunity while I was still doing my PhD to I was interested in psychology, especially educational psychology. And guess what? The program was online. I didn't even know the pandemic was going to happen or that there will be opportunities to teach online. Like it was not even on my radar. But the opportunity was now presented that, you can actually get a master's degree within 2 years while you're still doing your PhD, and it's all online and it's all on Zoom and everything. And it was so really good because, and then we had opportunity to meet people from over 140 countries across the world. And imagine the ideas, the innovation, the perspective and change and mind shift, and just learning from people from all over the world and being in group and working together and learning together. And it's just so it's full. So I think yes, there is value in the face to face, but there's also value. There's some unique values that online also bring. So either it's complementary or its own full course or side course. I think it's important and it needs to be integrated as we move forward in education. Thanks.
Okay. So much to glean from that. Thank you, Dr. Motola. I think we just move over to the next headline. And this Babcock gets approval for open distance learning. Anyone? Faye, let's hear from you.
Okay, I guess this is what we were talking about. This is what we just concluded on, that we should have a diversity to our teaching methods and to our instruction methods. For Babcock, this must have been in the pipeline before they got approval for open distance learning. And I think it's up to 8 years, I believe, or more. They had started it, and it has given opportunities to people who would otherwise not have gone to school to do this, to combine business or combine their career with academics, with getting themselves better, and also having this approval for Babcock University to commence their open distance and e-learning programs in Nigeria is a plus for education, is a plus for the tertiary education system in particular. And we're looking forward to seeing other schools embrace this, and not just embrace it, but execute it excellently well.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, if I can just add something to what Finny just said, I think that's amazing. But I mean, I'm just thinking about the infrastructure that is required to get this right. And in my head, I'm wondering, could we think about education partnerships? Can the universities begin to think about education partnerships and say, oh, you know what is it that we can do in this space such that, we can be better prepared? And there are a lot of companies out there that would give education partnerships, if they would put this, just put together the paperwork properly so that somebody can step in to that gap and help them. Because especially the private, so these are the private universities we're looking at. But then if you look at Unilag is a public university, so it's UI really. But I mean, just thinking about some other universities that may not have a lot of internally generated revenue, how can they also do this? Because it's like, honestly, like Finny said, it's not something that we should even be thinking about and getting approval for. It's something that, okay, actually the approval, well, both of them. Yeah, so that's what just came to my head. Yeah, thanks. Back to you, Rotimi.
Thank you so much. Accept your postings in good faith. NYSC urges core members.
I think that is BS. I don't think that they have the mouth to be saying that they should accept it in good faith. I think they need to really think and consider the safety of these youth, because I know almost every year, unfailingly, there has always been like stories to tell about how NYSC Cup members lose their lives senselessly because of service to their fatherland, because of lack of proper planning and preparation or adequate security for them. So for them to just say accept it in good faith, I don't think that is enough. I think that is irresponsible. It's lack of responsibility. That is not the right way to approach this. In terms of saying good faith, like, have they even considered and look at data to say, okay, last year this area had trouble, maybe currently we shouldn't post anyone there because of what happened in the loss and those kind of things. Like, again, I keep talking about data and examining stuff, and I don't think they've done that. So for them to just open their mouth and say accept it in good faith, I think that is irresponsible of them, and I don't agree with it.
Okay, I think a little bit of light on that is not necessarily the states they are just posted to. There are certain states, obviously, that even if you're posted to that state, you probably would not have your camp in that state, especially hot zones are not having that. But I think it's the primary assignment, place of primary assignment that they are zoning on. So some people prefer to work with corporates or banks, while some people end up with primary school postings.
I see. Well,
When
if
it
that is the
when it comes to primary posting, if NYSC is doing proper orientation, then core members there'll be less resistance when it comes to posting. For example, you post someone who has absolutely nothing to do with education and has no training in education, and you ask them to go teach. Definitely, what they're looking for is not teaching. But the management of NYC has said a number of times that they deploy core members to schools because of the shortage of teachers in schools, and that's why they do that. Is there a way during the orientation camp? Can they make this known to core members? Can they have maybe a 2-day crash program on? It's a lot, but give them a crash program on what to do when they get to the schools. Prepare their minds for it. Get them psychologically ready to go into a place where they really did not want to go to. So if I studied economics and what I wanted to do, or what I'm looking at is to be a player in on the world economic stage, sending me to a school doesn't make any sense to me, and of course it's frustrating. So asking me to go to a school to teach them mathematics or economics, you're taking me off my trajectory. So it's behoves on NYSC to do proper orientation, do proper preparation of the core members, and then they will have less of this kind of calls and begging them or forcing them to accept in good faith. You can't force these things down on people's necks.
I
yes,
think
and I
that, okay, please carry on.
oh I second Faye, and I was going to say my job was going to be Professor Ita, that this is an opportunity for you to take over this industry and definitely create the course or something that can help NYC better prepare students that are going into the school system.
Well, I've actually had something crafted on that, and a little bit of pilot has been done, particularly in Delta State. But then I think what the raise is very important. It might not necessarily be adopted by the scheme itself. It might actually be adopted by educators, concerned educators, and experts as well. And so when we did that test run, we noticed we were also doing Kaduna as well, but then there was a break, and Lagos as well. But I think that it should be more of post-orientation camp experience, because pretty much some people file or try as much as possible to be rejected, So when you have people who have been posted into schools, there should be some measure of finishing kind of experience for the people selected to be in particular areas, and if possible also like some measure of native intelligence, so the kind of locations. I'll give you an example. It might sound funny, but when I was serving, where I was posted to, it was it was it was like a it was like the dead end of that place. And some people said that that's the headquarters of witchcraft in that state. So, most people that had that kind of background information, I remember a friend said that when he was trying to even go to check to see if the place was something he could still manage, he said he saw some old women having their bath outside. So he concluded that that was the reality. So you can imagine where the orientation about the different localities or local government or towns in that state, nobody knows the opportunities there, the agricultural opportunities and all those things. So you just have core members just having free time to waste around, or sometimes to do other vices and all those things. So yeah, makes sense. Yes, let's look at another news. All right. Millions of UK homes could be heated with hydrogen by 2030. Let's hear from KK.
I mean, I haven't read this headline, but I mean, it's a good one. Because the reality is that people are moving away from petrol, right? People are moving away from non-renewable sources of energy, and we in Nigeria should need to begin to think about it. So, I mean, just seeing this again in my head, I'm like, hey, very soon this our oil, we'll be drinking it in our homes, because there's nobody to export it to, So yeah, I mean, it's amazing, and I really hope that, and that's why we need STEAM education right in our schools, because by the time we begin to put in elements of STEAM into what it is that we're doing, then when children are getting older, they're beginning to think a bit more about how they can actually create an earth that is sustainable and that can outlive us and not just kill it because we happen to have the honor of living on it. So yeah, I think it's an amazing one by the UK.
Dr. Motola?
Yeah, I agree to good. I'm glad that they're thinking of other alternative because, like we said, these what like it's important what we do to it and how we affect it by our carbon imprint. But one of the things I saw in the headline was that there was this issue about subsidiary. So like how like the government is going to make that affordable and making sure people can have access to it because anything in the beginning especially is expensive. Think about cell phone when they first came to Nigeria, they were so expensive, even SIM card, and now you can buy them like pure water. So the same thing with this, like in the beginning, there might be some difficulty with like high expensive. I think it is definitely worthwhile, and I'm glad that they're already thinking, they're like thinking towards the future and they are making plans and thinking through how they can fund it, how they can make it fair for the people and who is going to pay for like shoulder the cost initially until more people can use it and that way it can be more cheaper for people to really use. But I like that they are thinking beyond just gas and oil and hopefully this will spread across the world as well.
Very much. And then last one, an alligator attacks handler at kid's birthday party.
What was an alligator doing in a kid's birthday party? That's the question I have.
There's just this foolish thing of people trying to outdo themselves. And I don't understand. Honestly, it doesn't make any sense for me. A kid's birthday alligator. Why don't
Of
they just
all
organize a trip to the
attractions that are
zoo?
possible. Oh,
They should tell it.
My own
Oh my
question is
God.
like that handler needs to go back to school because can you imagine you're supposed to be the handler of the alligator and then the alligator is like sorry we are not friends you're my enemy and then you're being attacked. So and you're right, I don't think it's like it should not be something like that should be a joke thing, but I guess maybe part of it is teaching them fearlessness or how to relate with animal or teaching them about alligators, so there might be different reasons behind it, but I think it's just about the security and the way that they went about it that I think did everything.
I mean, crocodiles are they're hunters, right? They're predators. So there are certain environments where they even shouldn't be. And you know the way children are. I can imagine if it's a Nigerian child's birthday party, they will throw chin chin at it. They will throw capricone. They will throw because that's just a child, right? Especially depending on the age of the child. So to be honest, it's a huge safety violation. I mean, just going on what Dr. Montella said, and then they could have had the kid party at the zoo. In a zoo, a proper zoo, there are places where you can actually have a picnic. There are places where you can have a laugh and have fun. It's organized that way. So they could have done that. Why bring it? I don't even want to talk about this headline. Mr. to me, please.
It was not actually a guest tourist that rescued the handler.
no, but these things happen all the time. You go to a zoo, these are animals, they're not rational. They don't have developed brains to say dogs at home turn on their owners sometimes and bite them. So it's not the fault of the alligator. it's the fault of the humans that brought it out of its habitat and put it in the middle of humans where it wasn't supposed to be.
But you know that there's still some measure of argument on what you just said. It's not that they are maltreating them, by the way, but of course, a lot of people go to the extreme. So we have people who always try to make a show, and that's really what excites people going to see some of this. Funny enough, for the past 2 weeks, I've actually been focused on some of these short videos that you see. There's a particular lady that was being how do I put it? So she also was feeding alligators with turkey or chicken. So she was taunting them. So one came out of, it's a glass kind of cage, but then something you can open. So there were two. One came out of that tank. Didn't attack her, but she was a bit scared too, but she made fun out of it. It looked like it was just a joke that she was used to them. Then there was another one that was with snakes. And I'm talking about long kind of anaconda kind of snakes. They're just trying to they make a show out of this because of viewership, because of the speed and all that. But it's a case of when bushmeat turns to the hunter. That's it. That's it. So let's welcome Lady Mira Adelola. Thank you for joining. One fan for joining. Okay. You guys have gone quiet. What happened?
Why are you
Hello.
even watching those videos? I'm like, it's already creeping me out that, oh my goodness, ew. Like,
why was I watching the video?
Yes, I'm like, how can you have the stomach for that? So I'm just like, I have to reprogram my mind
I'm
image
an
with something
educator,
else.
so
I cannot. No.
It's part of research. KK taught us how to research.
Well, you have more fearless spirit, so
I have the
kudos
courage.
to you. Yes. Please raise up your what did they call it? What's that thing when you have a polo shirt and you put it up? Yes,
Your collar, so
yes.
sleeves. All right. Maybe I'll send you one of those videos.
Please do not. I will ban you from my WhatsApp forever and ever and ever.
Oh my goodness. So we're back to the conversation of the day, and it is lesson. There's actually lessons from the Olympics. So let's hear from Finn. I'm sure you're familiar with the Olympics, and yeah, Finn, talk to us.
If there is any sporting activity that I really love and enjoy, it's the Olympics, especially the opening ceremony because of it's so colorful, it's so diverse, and it's at the opening ceremony that I update my list of countries. And you get to hear of countries that did not the wildest imaginations that they exist, and seeing all of them showcase some elements of their culture, maybe in their dressing or in one way or the other. It's always so beautiful to watch. And if there's any lesson that I have learned from that is that essentially human beings are first human beings before we start getting divided along whatever lines we divide ourselves along. So when people file past, when they dance past, sing and all of that, they're seeing each other as human beings. Nobody's pushing the other and say, get out of my way, you're an atheist, get out of my way, you're pink, get out of my way, you're too tall or you're too short, or all of those considerations don't come in. These are just people who are enjoying the camaraderie that comes with being sportsmen, with being competing, even though they know they're competing against each other, but there's just that good naturedness around them. They're all smiles and and jovial, and everything is just so colorful, and it looks like the Olympics should just stop at the opening ceremonies, and let's just display all of that, and everybody goes back to their countries. But going further with the Olympics, once that is done, then we begin to face the competitions. And okay, so maybe I'll just let somebody else take over from here.
Yeah, fantastic. Thank you for that, thing. I thought that was great. I mean, I learned several lessons as well, to be honest. The first one is that no matter there would always be, you know, there would always be that do this, don't do this. There would always be barriers to entry. There will always be something that might just, because I mean, this was 2021, but it was the 2020 Olympics, right? So some things never change, right? No matter the type of opposition that you face.
Keep going, KK.
All right, I thought I heard Mr. Rotimi saying something. No matter the kind of oppositions that you face, you're just gonna have to go ahead. And there was a lot of opposition from about this particular Olympics in Tokyo, right? But they went ahead, whether it was a good or a bad decision, but they did go ahead. And another thing is, you just need to not be rigid, and that's something I saw with this Olympics. You couldn't be rigid, right? I mean, if you look at the stadium, it was so different. Let me put it like that. Let me not say empty. It was so different. All of the activities were conducted so differently this time around. But even in that, there were elements of, oh, you know what, this is how it's being done, and that was still there. And something that I saw every single time was how much work these people had put in. So much work. And so I sat down there, I was thinking, during the pandemic, did these guys rest? Or did they just pick this up? Because there was still so much uncertainty regarding the sporting event. But some of them came in there and you could see clearly that this was something that they had been training for. I sat down and I was watching the swimming event, right? And I was looking at the qualifiers and I'm like, are you joking? I mean, they were so fit. Some of them, straight off the bat, we felt that they were going to win. And then we had some surprises right there. Some people just popped up out of nowhere. And I'm like, are you joking? How did this guy do it? But it just showed that behind the scenes, people had been practicing regardless of the uncertainty. So even if we are not sure about something, it doesn't mean that we shouldn't plan for it, when nobody else is seeing us, right? And sometimes it's not the planning that everybody sees that makes a difference. It's the one that nobody sees that makes you know that, you know what, I'm putting in this effort. So, and I mean, we didn't really see the training like we typically would say, oh, these people are training here, because some of the cameras were not even allowed in some of these training centers anymore. But that didn't mean that they weren't doing what needed to be done. So we shouldn't always play to an audience. It's something I learned really strongly in the Olympics. Don't always play to an audience. Do it because you know that you have to do it. Prepare for it. And then the final thing I wanted to mention was the lighting of the torch, right? They could have done it with a machine. I mean, we know. We know. In my house, I don't even have matches anymore. So whenever there's no power, oh my God, you should see us. We're running around looking for how to light the gas or, something, because everything is done in my, we don't need like that anymore, right? So, but guess what? They still needed a human to do it. So it means that no matter how fantastic technology is, you still need one person, at least one person, to keep that touch flying, to keep that innovation going, to keep that fire burning. And those were really powerful lessons that I learned off of the Olympics. I mean, among several others, but I've really hugged the mic. So I'm just going to move the mic back now to Mr. Rotimi.
Yeah, and I can take it off of your hand. So thank you. You
Sure.
and Finn, you have definitely said a lot. And so I've learned a lot, and I was going to even comment on that as well. But you've already said about the preparation. Like, it takes them 4 years. And like you said, it was supposed to be 2020. This was 2021. So that was 5 years. And imagine, like, let us think about ourselves. Like, we that we have goals and dreams for the future. How many of us are willing to commit 5 years to one certain thing, to one event, to just 1 month or 1 week or 2 hours or 5 minutes of doing something? Because if you think of some of those sports, all they need is Oh yes, thank you, Mr. Olushola. I'm happy to be back. Thank you. I just saw your comments. But back to what I was saying. Some of these events, they had to perform for 5 minutes or for 10 minutes or whatever at a time, depending on how many rounds they have to do. But most of them spend 5 years to prepare for that. And that just really humbled me a lot, because sometimes, like, it's so easy for me to think and say, oh, woo me, this thing I'm going to give up easily. But imagine they persisted. That is the definition of persistence, looking at these athletes and all they have to go through. And actually those that even have the team, like there's a difference between the single event that is just one person, then there's the team event as well. And I'll talk about that. But that's one. The second thing that I also learned is this idea of why it's so important to have a mental picture and vivid vision of what you want to be, like visualization. Because research have shown it a lot of the time that most of the athletes, most of the Olympic winners of gold, silver, or bronze, they always imagine themselves winning before they even perform it. So imagine 5 years of constantly playing the movie in your mind that I'm going to win, I'm going to succeed, this is how I'm going to jump, this is how I'm going to swim, and imagine what that looks like, them taking the time out every day consistently, or however frequently they do that. And I just think that is powerful, and that's something that we can learn and definitely adapt into our life. And I recently started up like practice vividly of actually taking time out of my busy life and committing at least 30 minutes of my day, 10 minutes in the morning, in the afternoon, and 10 in the night, just to watch a video of the life I want, everything I want to be, create, do, have, give, and just really dream without any limits and all of those kind of things. And for me, it has been powerful just practicing it in some few weeks now. And then the last thing before I pass on the mic will also be the value of not giving up. So one example that really stood out to me was about the US basketball team. When they had their first playoff, like Nigeria even beat them. Nigeria won the game and they did not win, but they pulled themselves back up and they eventually won the gold. But they had to reset. So, and what that taught me was that yes, sometimes life happens. We think we are ready. We think we can do it. We think we have all it takes, and then something happens and it shakes us and it makes us feel somehow. And then because of that, we sort of like get like have panic mode, and then we don't perform to our expectation. For majority of people, they will give up and say that's the end. Well, that is just life, or whatever we call it, karma, or whatever we call it. And then, but they didn't allow that to stop them. They regrouped, they I'm sure they encouraged themselves, and then they went back with their game face, and then they finally succeeded and went from that low spot to the high spot. And then one last bonus was also the idea of like the value of like pride in your culture, pride in your origin, in your background, in your country. I think I want to see more of that, especially across most African country and other continents of the world, but more importantly across like Africa. Like if you see like they didn't care about the race, the politics, the different colors. They bonded together, and that example will be like in gymnastic, where when one of them won a lot of gold and the other one had a bronze, and one of the girls shared that gold with the other person and said, can I give her my gold? Can she have that? And it was just really beautiful, and I can go on and on, but I'll stop here and pass it on. Thank you.
All right, let's welcome Olushola Olumide to the session. Good morning, Olushola Olumide. Welcome.
Good morning,
Good morning,
Mr.
welcome.
Edifayo. Yes, Madam FFF. Good morning.
Good morning.
Madam KK, good morning. Dr. Motola, you're welcome back powerfully.
Thank you. Good
So
morning.
excited to see you this morning.
Happy
Yes.
to be back.
Yes, great. Thank you.
All right. So let me just bring us to this concept of the 10,000 hour rule. I'm sure you probably have heard of that before, which speaks to the capacity of an individual or anyone who desires to be an expert must have put in like at least 10,000 hours to that particular thing. And which tells us about the Olympics itself. We know that people take 4 years, 3 years, 2 years at the minimum to prepare for the Olympics. Sometimes you sometimes feel sad that delegates from Nigeria tend to just prepare for 4 months, sometimes 6 months, sometimes 2 months for something that some people have actually been preparing for 4 years, 2 years, you know. And, Michael Phelps, I'm sure most of us probably have heard of his story. It was accounted that he spent at least 17 hours in the pool every day. In the swimming pool, you find him in the swimming pool for 17 hours. Take 24 hours of the day. So take 17 hours away from 24 hours. You can imagine, for the rest of life itself, and that's just to put it into perspective that do we really have devotion when it comes to our pursuits and expertise? And I'd like to hear from Shola, then I'm coming back to Kiki.
Did you mention my name?
Yes, I did.
Yes, I think the 10,000 hours rule, I think no two way about it. And it is a great lesson from athletes. I discovered that the more gifted we are, the more dangerous you can turn out to be at times if you are not careful. And when focus is divided, it dissipates energy. It's good to be a man of one focus. 10,000 hours, I tell you, if you want to achieve anything, if you want to attain mastery, we cannot place less on it. It doesn't matter how passionate somebody is. Practice is inevitable. Giving yourself to it, being committed to that thing. And looking at it from the angle of the Olympics, as you have said, just as the 2020 Olympics,
Hello, are you there?
just ended a couple of days ago. Some of them one medal,
Yeah.
it just concluded one. In order to sustain that victory, you have spoken about Phelps now. It's 8 days, At times in swimming alone, you can see only about 4, 5, 6 medals just in one Olympic. I mean, why there are a whole country who wouldn't win a single bronze. So the man himself, because he had practiced over the years and he has got that mastery, when he gets to the tournament, things turn out. It's not magic, but he's been proving this thing over and over. And of course, some of them, they even have coaches they work with, they have psychologists they work with, and you are timing yourself. Okay, I have returned 10 seconds now. I know I can do better. Another person that really comes to mind is Usain Bolt. He keeps breaking new record. At the time, it was 9.9. At the time, it was 9.8. At the time, it was 9.7 something. Then it was 9.69. The world thought I would have seen it all, only for him to come up with 9.58. And at times, you keep looking at that young man. How is he doing it? No two way about it. Practice, 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 practice. Even when we think we have attained mastery, in order not to nosedive from the peak, sustaining ourselves at the peak requires more effort, more diligence, more discipline, and more training. So in every field of endeavor, I think if we approach it with that, not necessarily because we're even competing with anybody, we just want to be at our best part time and always want to break our own record. I think it will go a long way. Nothing can hold such a man down. He will surely be seen globally. Thank you.
Thank you so much. KK, I want to get some input from you on this.
I mean, to be honest, I think Mr. Olushola said it all. I hope I got his name right. The reality is that practice trumps passion every time. It doesn't matter how much passion you have. If you're not doing anything about it, then it's to be honest, it's nothing. It's almost like the intention implementation gap. That you know, you can intend to do something, but if you never get it done, then it's never going to get done. So we really cannot say that we love something and then we're not practicing. And I see that time and time again in the education sector. You're talking about something new and people are looking at you and wondering, and I'm like, yes, yes, yes. It doesn't mean that it has to happen in Nigeria for it to be something you need to take a look at, right? You just need to know what's happening around the world in the education space. And yeah, so yeah, we do need to take that lesson from the Olympics. Back to you, Sarah TV.
So what do we need to do? Let me ask Dr. Motola, what do we need to do to ensure that we don't have this lump-sided or just one-sided kind of expertise and mastery? And in some cases, sometimes I look at some areas um, in the world, I look at some field, and I feel like the masters in such areas are going. Some of them are old, but we don't seem to have people following on or coming after them. Seems like that place should just be quiet when they leave the stage. How do we bring this into context, especially for educators who are listening, are probably going to take some time to watch the replay? How do we get this fixed? Because it seems like we are that Indomie generation where it takes a while for people to really say they want to go the long haul.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for the question. So I'll say the first thing is like deciding, deciding what do you really want? What do you really want? If you were to pick one thing that you want to achieve in this world, what do you want to be known for? What is that thing that you want to be the legacy of? And I'll give like practical example. So let's look at Nelson Mandela. He spent 27 years. We can count that as more than 10,000 hours, right? For one cause. For one cause, it was willing to die for it. It was willing to give up 27 years of his life in captivity for this one belief that no, white and blacks are equal. Black should not be treated lesser than white. So I think asking that question, what do I really want? Forget about the Instagram, the TikTok, everything, and everybody making $10,000 in one day or 5 days or whatever. What really matters to you? What is that legacy? What is that influence that you want to have in your life? Think about Mother Teresa. She dedicated her life to the poor, serving the poor. We can also say that she did over 10,000 hours for that, right? Gandhi, Martin Luther King. I can go on and name all of these great. And you're absolutely right. It's dying. Most of these people are like dying, and there's no one to take their place because I think a lot of people are not going deep. They're going wide instead of deep. If I look at most of these people who champion the causes, whether for money, for innovation, for social change, for social justice, and everything, they went deep, not wide. I think our generation, we are so prompt to giving up easily that, oh, if it's not working after we tried it for 20 hours or for 1 week or for 1 week, 1 year, we're going to quit. We don't have that long time, like that persistence, that persistently going after it, trying different ways of and trying different things to really work towards that goal. So I'll say deep, not wide. I think I see a lot of us going wide, and I think it's a struggle. Like me, and you can definitely testify to it, Mr. Rotimi. Like we've had sessions where you're like, okay, Tola, no. Like you can, I know you have all of these ideas and everything, but which one is the core one? So, and it's something that I am learning and I'm actually becoming better at. I'm still not perfect, but I've had to like really examine my life and like really say, okay, I need to like in this season I cannot do AUJ or EOJ. I have to commit to one and say, okay, come what may, I am willing to stick to this and do this and do that. And then another one will be deliberate practice. A lot of us we are thoughtless in the things that we do and how we do it. We don't think in terms of long term and delayed gratification. It's about the now. It's about how many followers, how many likes, how many comments, how many people watch my video, how many people applauded me or gave me my flowers online and everything. And I think KK said it, or one of the other analysts said it about it's what you do when nobody is watching, when nobody knows, in the secret. That is what that is what gets manifested in that 5 minutes or 10 minutes of now worldwide accolades that you get later. And so for me, it's like that deliberate prayer, intentionally, whether or not somebody is clapping for you, whether or not you're getting results, that like consistent, like, you know what, I'm going to get this done, it shall be done kind of like mentality that I'm going to keep going after it. Like if it's not working, I'll try this, I'll ask for help, I'll seek out coaches, I'll seek out mentors. But I know that this is something that I know it can work. Think of Nelson Mandela. What if he had given up after year 5 and say, you know what, government come, oh, I have decided to back down on my statements. Please, I want to get out of this prison. Do you think South Africa will be where it is, or would they have that equality they have? What if even Martin Luther King, he almost wanted to give up? Like there are stories of like speeches that he never wrote, or like things that he wrote where he told God that, God, can you just take this burden away? I don't want to do this again because my family, I'm putting them in danger. But nevertheless, like he was like, you know what, I'm just going to keep going. Yes, eventually he lost his life for it, but think of the legacy. There are so many streets, so many states, so many, almost every state, every city, every state I've been in these US has a road, has a address, has a location dedicated to his name. Martin Luther King Road, Martin Luther King Highway, Martin Luther King this, and all of those kind of things, schools and all of those kind of things in that regard. And so for me, I think going deep, not wide, is important. Also, deliberate practice, being willing to do the delayed gratification. And think about it, most of these people were building in secret, but they watch the result they produce finally exalted them. So, is that Bible verse that say, do you see a man diligent in his way? He will stand before king, not mere men. And I think sometimes we forget that. We want to show results under shaky foundation. And sometimes we need to really dig deep first. That's when the structure will stand. So no matter the storm, the wind, the thunder, the hurricane, it will stand strong irrespective of that. And think of all of these people. They're dead now, but their lives will never be forgotten. Their names will carry on for generations and generations to come. And so I think a lot of us, we've been so, the technology is great and wonderful, but I think one of the drawbacks is that we think that, we must go, what's the word? Blow, or like become, what's this word that they use a lot, like when you become sensational and everybody download your video and 1 million people view, and you think that is success. And so I think we need to reorientate ourselves and really, really like examine ourselves. What do I really want? How can I go deep, not wide?
Fantastic. Thank you so much. I'm going to ask us this final question, and everyone will take a turn on that. And the question is this. Okay, let me put it this way. So we all know that we want to make this a bit more practical. So I'd like to find out from each and every one of us, what is your own Olympic lesson or Olympic infusion? What's that routine that you put into place to hone your skill or to get towards mastery? I'm going to start with Finn. I'm going to go to Olushola. I'm going to go to KK, and I'll come back to you, Dr. Motala.
One thing I do is I keep reading. When I find that I seem to be saturated with reading, then I watch videos, because I know that in this area I am, and in my field and where I want to be distinguished, I don't know everything. I cannot know everything, but every day I keep learning. I keep adding one thing to myself. So essentially, I do reading and watching of videos. And when I'm not watching videos, I love to listen to people. I really practice more of listening and less. I love to listen to people experiences, share it. Have you done it? How did you do it? What was the result? What did you not do right? So I know what to avoid.
So we have Olushola.
Yes, thank you. I think I will also want to go the way of me, as she has said, reading, learning, improving, then also trying to volunteer, especially in a space where I'm in love with or I'm passionate about. I also want to contribute, and bearing in mind that I'm going to gain or learn one or two things in order to be better. So for me, It is consistency, continuity. I've chosen a path. I want to follow that path. Anything within that space, I want to keep learning. I see people that can be of help. I want to draw closer to them, glean one or two things. I want to see courses in that line. I want to get involved with the courses, learn more, listen to other practitioners, and engage myself so that I can better deploy myself for the course I have chosen. That is one thing I have learned, because Olympic comes every 4 years. So, and until one ages or one retires, so to say, and you cannot be active and moving around, might take.
All right. I think we've not been able to hear him. So let's hear from KK then. KK, over to you.
Whoosh. I mean, to be honest, I'm just gonna piggyback off what Fee and Mr. Olushala said. That's exactly the same things that I do. I study, I read, I watch videos, I watch news, so that I know, what exactly is happening, and then I ask a lot of questions. Right. I'm very open towards joining webinars that I see, just so that I hear something different. I don't also assume that I know it all. If not, then I'm going to get stuck in the things that I know and never move forward. So those are some of the things that I do. I also, yeah, that honestly, that's it really. And then practice, practice, practice. So there are times where I also go into the classroom. I ask people, oh, you have a training program, can I join in? Because I want to be part of it, right? Not just to learn, but also to be able to teach. And because it's important, and it's not about getting paid, it's about sharing the knowledge that I have. Because in doing that, I get better. And then when people ask me questions, sometimes I'm like, I didn't think about that before. And that again generates a new beginning for me. So those are some of the things that I do as well. Yeah, back to you, Mr. Rotimi.
Thank you very much. And then, of course, Dr. Motala.
So for me, I call it like my morning routine. So one of them is like waking up at a certain time every day consistently, which is about 1:45 a.m. I've finally gotten it right. And then um um and and yes, I study a lot. I study a lot, like a whole lot. But for me, it's different. It's not just about studying about the things in the area of my expertise, but also studying myself and really understanding um my ups and down, like so that like doing a SWOT analysis, the visible and invisible self basically. And so I do a lot of that through journaling, um, reflecting a lot, asking myself questions, and then also I now recently what I just added is now visualizing a lot. So I actually bought an app where I can create as many vision boards I want for specific things or for all areas of my life or for everything. And now every day I practice at least, like I said, 30 minutes every day consistently for the past like a month now, just watching those things and affirming those things and really listening to and seeing it before it has actually happened. And so that when it happened, it will not be like odd, it will be familiar to me in that regard. So those are some of the things I do daily.
Thank you so much. We've learned a lot. I've learned a lot, and I'm sure that people out there would be able to put one or two things together from the topic lessons from the Olympics, and
What's
the
yours,
trans
Jay?
was
You were not going to
Doctor.
escape now. You're not going to
I
escape
wasn't
now.
trying to escape. I was just trying to give a closing line before I say mine. Okay, so for me, I do a lot of mixture of things. I sometimes try to stay alone and just be alone. You might call it a me time, but just be alone. Sometimes stay into the dark. It helps me kind of accelerate my level of reflections. Yes, I do read. I listen to a lot of audios. Sometimes I just watch movies that either detective, almost predictively profile what's going to happen. So I train my brain that way. I have conversations with friends from different industries so I can catch up to learn from them. And I ask a lot of questions. So for those who don't run away from my questions, I get to also get um, updates and insights into the world of their knowledge from that. Yes, is that fine now, Dr. Motora?
Yes, thank you.
On that note, we've come to the end of the show today. We'll be here tomorrow, God willing, Wednesday, the 18th of August, and we'll be having a great time. Please don't forget to be a part of um, the summer camp for special educators put together by Cadet Academy. I believe it's going to be a great one. Be a part of it. Follow them on their website and social media handle, and you'll be a part of it. I'm sure you learn a lot from that. So thank you so much. Our favorite part of the show is time for that sign off, and I'm sure we're going to unmute ourselves. KK, Dr. Motola, are you ready?
Yes, let's do it.
Yeah, ready. All right, at the count of 2, we're going to have our PF line. Ready? 1, 2.
It's always
Always
Great
great
morning on the Good
on the
Morning
Good Morning
Education
Education
Show.
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 I'm
Bye,
Take care.
Dr.
Have a
everyone.
Mothers.
great day. God bless you. Well, blessings, everyone. Bye.